would you mind like talking to our audience about yourself? Who are you and what you're doing in the environment? Maybe start with Mark first. Do you want to introduce
Oh,
yourself to our audience?
I knew it. Hi, everyone. My name is Mark. So currently, I'm a year three undergraduate studying environmental science at the University of Hong Kong, minor in politics. So just grew up as a local and yeah, just start getting into environmental issues and climate change issues from uni. So 2 years ago. So just doing some work with Hermia, which will be introducing herself now.
Hi everyone, I'm Hermia. I am a final year student, majoring in global studies, minor in geography, and at the Chinese University of Hong Kong. I also study local school throughout like for the last 12 plus years. I've got in touch with environmental work started by volunteering with Hong Kong Shark Foundation. I'm a vegetarian, so like that's like I started from the more animal rights side, and then I get in touch with like the environmental side of everything. Currently, Mark and I were co-leading network of environmental student societies as our new youth group started earlier this year, and in November this year, we also got the chance to attend COP in person. So yes.
Yeah. So you mentioned just now that there is some like NGO that sparked you into the interest into environmental protection and issues. So right before that, what actually sparked you to like join this NGO and know more about the environment? Because yeah, you like for us, we like have some particular issues that we're like very curious about, like the ones that will play in news. So we would wonder what issues like interest you so that you would join this NGO and get more into it and eventually choose this to be your career.
For me, the issue that sparked the interest will be understanding how much animal agriculture is taking up land resources, leading to deforestation, and also like just there could be better ways to use resources than how we're doing right now. So I therefore eventually become a vegetarian and get in touch with more like animal rights or like consumption of endangered species, endangered like product from endangered species, etc. And then from there, I get in touch, get to know more about like animal agriculture and the relationship to climate change. So like how is emitting a lot of greenhouse gases. And then I learn about climate change as a whole. Actually, a lot of other factors contribute to that as well. So like burning of fossil fuel, transportation, agriculture, and a lot of other like our like lifestyle. So I'll say it was understanding the resources used in animal agriculture sparked the interest, but later on I get to know more about climate change and got more interested as about it as a whole.
So yeah, would Mark like to also share about how you got interested in the environment? Is there any like particular news that interests you a lot?
I would say it all goes back to actually when I was in high school. So I think in Form 4 and 5, I got the chance to travel to some remote island states. So for me, it's Fiji and Costa Rica. I had two volunteer experiences during my high school summer, and by being there and just working hand in hand with locals there, trying to salvage the, I would say, damage caused by typhoons that are intensified by climate change. That kind of is my firsthand experience into what climate change is really. To be honest, sound ignorant, but like back in Hong Kong, I really don't see how much typhoon can do, how much damage typhoon can do, and like as compared to what I was seeing in Fiji and Costa Rica, right? In those small developing countries, I would say, um, it's such a big difference, and it really does cause like I would say a mark on your mind, as in like you never experienced that, and you just saw this huge difference compared to where you have been living in your whole life, and then I just feel I just felt very surprised and at all, and also like just have no idea what like this kind of issue would happen, and it does happen in real life, and that's how I got to know more, like interested in climate change specifically and all things environmental. Coming back to Hong Kong, trying to see what Hong Kong could do more and what kind of impact are we facing as well in the environmental and climate change field.
Thank you. So, in trying to influence the general public in Hong Kong, do you find yourself in a hard situation where you have to face a lot of difficulties to try and try and promote your type of like thinking into the environment to the public? Like, not a lot of people would very quickly accept what you guys are promoting. So, is there any ways that you could that you find yourself like it's difficult to spread this knowledge to them?
I think one of the way will be promoting a sustainable lifestyle that is quite difficult in Hong Kong situation. And what I have been doing is that instead of pushing people or like telling them how wasteful behavior will damage the planet, more like lead as an example. So like showing them how just like minor changes in your consumption or your like takeaways habits that can also make a difference, and it's not difficult. Like you can easily incorporate that into your daily life. So leading as an example would be one of the way. And other challenges I think both Mark and I face would be the language barrier. So a lot of, especially for climate change, a lot of the terms are we're very used to it saying in English. So like climate adaptation, it kind of explains itself. But then if we turn it into Chinese, it's like, hey, how sick yang, and then it's like, what the hell is that? No one understands what the four terms mean. So so language barrier is one of the things. Like we still struggle to find proper translations when it comes to climate change terms. Usually we go to the Taiwanese one, but then sometimes what written Chinese and spoken Cantonese is kind of a lot. There are a lot of difference between it. So we're still trying to figure out how to incorporate that. If you guys have any ideas or like having like a translation competition, let us know. We'd love to hear more from you guys.
Yeah. So talking about translation, like we actually do help some local organizations do translation, just because their articles are mainly in Chinese, and we find that like there is a certain audience in Hong Kong that speaks English and read English. So we do help some local NGOs do translation as well.
Okay, so like we've talked about their environment like as a whole, right? So right now I want to move into some more like specific questions. Actually considering the COP26 that both of you had the pleasure of attending in person. So both of you were youth delegates for COP26. So can you explain to us what does being a youth delegate actually entail?
Sorry, can you guys hear me with my
Yeah, it's fine,
because I'm trying to use my phone. I think my internet isn't that stable. Anyways, okay, cool. I'll leave my phone behind. Anyways, so I feel like just being a youth delegate at COP as a Hong Kong representative, not representative, but someone from Hong Kong, right? It's basically, I would say, a huge step. Excuse me, can you like hear the echo? I think there's an echo.
Oh, there's no echo, it's fine.
Cool. Excuse me. Sorry, my Wi-Fi is really shit. Anyways, sorry. Cool. So let me start from the beginning. So basically, being a youth delegates from someone from Hong Kong, right? I think it's a huge step because this year we have one of the biggest batch of people that are from Hong Kong that are going as a group to COP26 as a youth delegate. So I think that's a huge step because it shows people in Hong Kong, youth especially in Hong Kong, that climate change is an issue that they should focus on. Then they have the power to really make a difference and have a say in the international stage. In the past, we might see like 2 to 3 youth representatives going to COP as a Hong Kong delegate. But this year, by having like a legit group, I would say it's a big enough group. I would say it's a huge step up. And just being a youth delegate at COP26, meaning you have so many different channels and ways to just make a change, be it outside or inside of COP. For example, outside we could be protesting, marching, like that could create momentum, as well as to just trying to like spread the message through social media to your peers, right? That's one way of making a change as a delegate at COP. Not and on the other side, you have working inside COP, which is probably working within the youth constituencies under UN climate change. So it's called Yango. It's an official youth constituency. And one of the ways, that would be one of my ways to actually to kind of work and make a change from within, is trying to, just drafting different youth statements and trying to influence decision makers, making important people, I would say, in the negotiation process, which is very detrimental to what is being agreed upon at COP itself. So I think being a youth delegate gives you the chance, instead of just paying attention far away in Hong Kong. So that's a huge difference I see. That's why I think being a youth delegate representing Hong Kong at COP would be a very important thing, and I think it's a very influential thing as well.
Okay, so I think we can all agree it's a step in the right direction, right? For us having more youth voices in like a more global stage. So what do you guys think could be done more? Like, this is a step in the right direction. What will be the next step? Like, we have a group of youth delegates. Okay, so what next?
So basically, after post-COP, we have a few meetings, and we have decided to not only kind of like follow up with what COP26 has been agreed upon, also we'll be kind of like transferring our message from COP, our experience from COP, basically doing sharings, in-person sharings. And for the next batch of people who are going to COP27 in Egypt next year, we'll be also giving them a bit of guidance, I would say, and preparations before COP27. That's what we're going to do. And one of the things that we did already, it's basically we had issue, I think, kind of like a press release or a list of questions to the Legislative Council candidates regarding their stance on climate actions and climate action plan in Hong Kong. So hopefully that would give them more, I would say, pressure to by responding those questions, that would give them kind of like that would give the public attentions to this issue in regards to the climate action plan in Hong Kong that just got released. Hermia, any? Nope.
Yeah, and apart from that, I think the two of us were the only two university students in the group. So we really want to make the opportunities a lot more accessible for youth in Hong Kong. So for example, we kind of got in touch with, I'm from CHK, so I talked to the sustainability in CHK and telling them, oh, there is this opportunity, you can obtain observer status in the UNFCCC. Would you be interested in that? And they seem to be quite interested in it. So like they're quite keen about the idea of having Hong Kong youth, Hong Kong students, especially from their university, to attend in the international negotiations conference. And we also hope to talk to HKU soon, because they already obtained the observer status, but they never claimed the badges, so they never claimed the nominations opportunities. So hopefully by talking to them, we can open up more spot for youth in Hong Kong, maybe not limited to their universities. We actually met quite a number of students that are studying in high school. Like they go to COP for 1 week and go back to school right away. So impressive. So yeah, don't feel discouraged. Age is not a problem at all.
So I think we would all agree that the organizations you mentioned, like COP, and even collaborating with universities and the Legislative Council, it's a pretty large scale thing, right? So it has a larger impact to the society. But on the other hand, do you also think that having smaller scale collaborations with like smaller NGOs and even individuals would also have a very large impact on the environment, to like spreading what you're concerned about?
I think if you say small scale with small NGOs and youth individuals, I think it really depends on the the nature of stuff that you're doing, the action that you're trying to take. For example, if it's only youth individual, but it's an anchor person that has a lot of different connections, right? If with the right connection, that will lead to a lot of different opportunities. That will obviously create a bigger momentum. Instead of working large corporation with someone that doesn't have that power to do so. So I think it really depends on the nature and of the entire, I would say, for example, initiative. For example, um, right now, NESS, and we're collaborating with Carbon Care in the Lab, which is like I would say a small scale NGO as well. And then we're basically organizing LCOI together. So I think the goal, it also depends on how you define the impact that you're trying. You were just saying, right? Like with LCOI, or the organization of LCOI, what we're trying to reach is basically kind of educate 100 people in high school and also university students, I think, in regards to what they can do in climate change, and basically prompts them to do something and inspire them to do something in climate actions in the community. So I would say, for in terms of reach, that will be impactful as well, even though it's only like impacting 100 people individually. But I would say it's about what are you doing with the initiatives that you started, which is, for example, in Alcoy, we are basically giving them different advocacy tools, knowledge, and contents to get them started with their climate journey and climate actions in Hong Kong. So I think the impact will be long lasting for me, not for them, not for everyone. I'm pretty sure of that. Not for all 100 people, but for a certain amount of people, I'm pretty sure some of them will feel inspired and really take actions from there. So I would say there's still an extent of impact there are, but that really depends on what kind of actors are you're engaging with as well.
I think from an individual perspective, I would say impacting or influencing individuals could make a huge difference. I think you can never estimate what the person will do. Like maybe they got interested about environmental issues and they will talk to their parents and they will talk to their friends, and maybe their friends and family got interested about the issues. They might come together and make like a project or start a small scale, like, I don't know, documentary screening activities, or like keeping the community, like keeping climate change or environmental issues in the community dialogue. But then from an organization perspective, I would say we would love to collaborate with more small NGOs and youth group. We actually have only been collaborating with small NGOs and youth group because we are part of them. We love to work with them. We love to work with people. I love working with people, passionate people. I love connecting youth group with similar interests together. In Hong Kong, not sure if you noticed, but we have so many organizations about ocean, and I just love connecting. We have a group called like Ocean Cults that we just connect like 3 ocean youth group together, and we have like a small Instagram group. We have been connecting people, and we have been in part of this small scale NGO, small scale youth group field. But then if from an organization perspective, we need to reach out to a wider audience. Sometimes we need to talk to like bigger, let's say corporate or university or like bigger scale organization, just to get our message out and to make ourselves seem a little bit more legitimate to the general public. So we need all types of connection, I would say.
So it's great to hear that you guys are starting small and just inspiring people all around you to really start their journey in like environmental protection. So back to COP26, because we're really interested about that. Could you share like 1 or 2 unforgettable experiences that you guys have experienced at COP26, and also the most important takeaway as delegates there?
Hermia, you want to start? Cool. I would say one of the most unforgettable experiences, it would be working with a bunch of youth delegates from around the world on one single youth statement on the closing ceremony of COP26. That was very stressful. Yeah, look at Hermia. Hermia is laughing because she knows how hard that was. Just trying to work with so many different youths on one single statement with so many different voices. But yeah, that was a particularly I would say unforgettable because we need to represent global youth to issue a statement at the end of by the end of the closing ceremony. So after they agree on the Glasgow Climate Pact, that will be up to the civil societies and constituencies to have a, let's say, a response or a statement, 2-3 minutes. And I was very lucky to kind of like represent the global youth to speak on behalf of the youth constituencies. So I think that was one of the most unforgettable experience because to be able to say that, oh, I'm Mark from Hong Kong, and then speak on behalf of the global youth, I would say it holds a lot of power as well. It's one of the message that I want to get from get out of this experience to fellow youth in Hong Kong would be, don't think that one person couldn't do much. Like I through my experience, this most unforgettable experience by speaking on behalf of global youth at the closing plenary, right? I want to want people to know that you can also Hong Kong youth can also do that. Even though the momentum in Hong Kong, the movement in Hong Kong is not as advanced or at the forefront as compared to Western countries, but I think yeah, that would be one of the most unforgettable experiences just by speaking the youth statement out loud. And then the second one would be knocking on Country Pavilion's door and meeting with different climate negotiators to lobby. So basically, under the youth constituencies, we can work towards draft different youth statements and propose our policy proposal as youth, and then we would actually knock on the Country Pavilion's door or the country representative's office door to find the country negotiators. And one very surprising thing is that they would actually answer and they would respond kindly with patience and give us feedbacks and what works and what doesn't. And another thing is that I think some of them did take our youth policy proposal as an input and help us actually advocate for that. So I think that would be one of the most unforgettable ones because I never expect that government officials would actually listen to youth in such a short amount of time, because it's very top down in, I would say, Asia region, right? Like the whole hierarchy system. But I think in the Western culture or in the global North countries, that would be not completely different, but I would say the culture is very different compared to Asian region, where youth literally just go to their minister or country representatives and express their view and actually get to be listened and be heard and be taken account for. I would say that's inspiring. Yeah. And I would stop here first before I get to the takeaway. So Hermia.
Thank you very much. That's very kind of you to stop there. I think I definitely share the second one. I think one of the most memorable, unforgettable experience will be on the third day. We get to meet the US negotiator, and she comes to the youth group. We didn't actually, well, maybe they reach out to her, I'm not sure, but they come to us and then oh, this is the first draft of our work program. We try to incorporate youth ideas in it. What's your opinion on that? And I think that itself is very unforgettable. But the second thing will be because the working group Mark and I were working is quite Europe-centric. And also we have a few representatives from Canada, US, but there are not many Asian faces. There are not many, I don't even see any Africans, surprisingly. But yeah, so a lot of the suggestions, I would say they're great suggestions, but one of the suggestions they have at that time would be having a youth national focal point for climate empowerment, working along with the national focal point. So like usually it's a government official. But then in order to have that like national focal point for climate empowerment, you need to adopt the work program. But then a lot of Asian countries did not do that. So even if there will be a youth position regarding climate empowerment, regarding climate education, like countries who did not adapt to that work program will not be benefited. So as young people from Asia who was kind of feeling a little bit excluded from the conversation. I'm not saying they do it intentionally. They're definitely not doing it intentionally, just that they're not in our position to understand our struggle. So that's why representation is very important, especially in the international context. Having Hong Kong youth, I don't think anyone can speak on behalf of us. So having Hong Kong voices there is very, very important.
Yeah, so we could imagine how stressful it would be to like speak to people of different countries, as of course we all have like cultural differences and like other influence which cause our difference. But do you guys also think that these kind of differences actually like it will benefit all of them from working together, because maybe you get like inspired by their thoughts, and since you guys have different thoughts, do you actually like how often do you like you're originally not disagreeing on their point, but after listening to the explanation and you will be like leaning more towards their stance? How often does that actually happen to you?
Hermia.
I don't think that had happened to me because usually it's spots or areas that were omitted that they didn't see, and we try to add to that instead of we opposing what their suggestion. And there are definitely experience working with groups that I do not agree with. But then there are so many other opportunities there. Like if you don't vibe with that person, you can leave the team. And we're talking a very specific case, so not to.
I 100% agree. I think one of the things for youth delegates under the youth constituencies under the UN climate change is that there's a flat hierarchy system. So basically there's no one's, like no one has more power than other people. So that's kind of also why it's difficult to work with youth from around the world, because our view is so different, and our basically our values are so different, and our inputs are kind of different as well, as you mentioned. And to be able to have a compromise in such short amount of time, it's quite hard. So to be able to make a compromise, I would say that doesn't really happen that much. Yeah, it's just, you just need to agree with it. Like we are like newbies at COP, so like we just mostly observe. I mean, we listen to inputs that we don't agree with. Sometimes we voice out like giving our opinions, but when you don't have a full grasp and understanding of things and how things works at COP, you can really contribute, because sometimes you're actually afraid that, oh, you don't know much, so you shouldn't probably talk much as well, like offer that much input. So that's one of my mindset. I'm not sure about Hermia, but that's one of my mindset in the first few days, I would say. But afterwards, you just voice out, but it's very, very hard to work out a compromise, I would say, that everyone agrees with.
Yeah, I think the flat hierarchy, well, the flat structure, not flat hierarchy, the flat structure really helps with newcomers that are quite insecure about, oh, am I knowing enough to speak here? Am I like really qualified to be there? But people there are very encouraging. And if the person is not encouraging, the person is not friendly, you can choose not to work with them. And people respect that. So it's a friendly environment, I would say, overall.
Great. So now we want to ask a little bit about the creation of NESS, and like what kind of prompted or what kind of inspired you to create something like this. Yeah.
Well, the creation of NESC actually goes back to a midnight conversation a friend of mine and I had at a college common area. Both of us are environmentalists, and then midnight you got like your thoughts just running like crazy, and then we kind of come up with an idea having like there are so many groups in Hong Kong, great youth groups, great youth organization societies, but they're not connected with one another, and there is no platform in Hong Kong to like kind of unified youth voices as a whole. So that's why we want to have a platform to connect people together. And right now, I think the overall direction changed a little bit. So Mark and I, we both had experience volunteering in like international youth organizations. We've got in touch with like other opportunities outside of Hong Kong. There are things in our university or in Hong Kong we hope to see, but it never showed up. Let's say career fair about green jobs, or like mentorships that is about sustainability roles that we never see in Hong Kong. So right now, we really want to make these things happen for other young people, and also making opportunities, all type of opportunities, more accessible, making climate related or like environment related knowledge more accessible to people who are interested in this field. Any adds on, Mac?
I think that's, yeah, the creation of Ness is, well, stems from Hermia. So
we actually really appreciate your thoughts here about setting up NESS in that kind of format, because like 1+1 is always larger than 2. So we actually really like the thought about that. So well, since you guys have a lot of like experiences in setting up these organizations or working with like COP, etc., do you have any advice for youth like us who are looking to like also contribute to the environment and maybe are thinking about how to expand the plans but are not sure how to do so? Do you guys have like any like advice on what to do and what not to do? Yeah.
I would, very cliche, but I think from my personal experience would be just don't be afraid to try and step out. Because like for me, right, I started in year one and I just wanted to like find something in Hong Kong but I couldn't find any like climate change or environmental related like kind of like a 10 months program in Hong Kong, right? So I find something online that's like a Canadian based NGO having a 10 months fellowship program. So I joined that, which kind of snowballed since then from year one. Then I got other opportunities to work with the 10 of the biggest oil and gas companies and crafting a list of recommendations for them with 9 global youth leaders from around the world. So you never, what I'm trying to say is that you never know what's going to happen. So if you have an opportunity, just grabs it. If you're interested and you're passionate about that thing, then don't be afraid and just grabs it, because you never know what that opportunity will bring you to, right? You never know how that would go or snowball. So I would say that's like you need to do is just apply stuff. Don't underestimate yourself. Just try, because you never know if you're gonna get picked. And if you're not, that's fine. Like that's okay. But you get the experience of like doing cover letters and writing cold emails and stuff like that. That's skills you could have, but what you never know is that you might get picked, and that's like 1 in a billion chance. But yeah, if you don't try, you never get it. Yeah, and
Totally agree with that. Yeah, same advice on that. But don't overwork yourself. Kind of weird that I say that. Yes, stop laughing, Mark. Yeah, don't overwork yourself. Pace yourself. And if you already have an organization, you're planning to do some activities, my advice will be think from your audience perspective. So like if you're organizing activities for youth, don't make it so boring that even youth don't want to come. Like make it fun. Put some like creativity in it. Look for new mode or new ways to organize activities. just when you're approaching to another organization, imagine you're the person who received the email. So like, what can you offer to that organization? How can you make their life easier? So like simplify the steps for them to collaborate with you. So always think about who is receiving, like who is on the receiving end. And I think things will be easier for organizer perspective.
Okay, thank you so much, both of you, for your answers. I'm sure all of us and whoever's going to be viewing or listening this will find many interesting tidbits from these answers. Thank you so much.